Friends of NRA is your chance to support our Second Amendment rights and preserve America's hunting traditions. Join Friends of NRA at one of our 600 exciting events nationwide. From games to auctions and exclusive firearms, Friends of NRA events are your chance to support a cause you care about while having a great time with patriots in your community. Whether you're a seasoned shooter, an avid hunter or outdoorsman, or passionate about freedom, there's a place for you within Friends of NRA. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you. Stand up for freedom with the Friends of NRA.
Midway USA brand product designers have one straightforward goal: develop high-quality, technically sound products and deliver them to customers at reasonable prices. If you are immersed in the shooting sports industry and pay close attention to every single detail, you know our products are built right and stand up to everyday use. Who has shooting mats and range bag systems to hunting clothing and just about everything for the outdoors? Log on and shop 24/7 with super fast shipping. MidwayUSA.com.
So we really appreciate you guys jumping in with us here at the Outdoor Drive. This is your boy East Coast Trev, and as always, with the man himself, the Madman. How are you, buddy?
What up?
What's the good word, dude?
Word is the word. Bird is the word.
I know, man. The season's over. Things are going good. We're just grinding into something else, dude. I mean, it's cold. It's really cold. Where was this? Where was this in November? That's what I want to know.
I only like this in November. You can once deer season's over, I don't like the cold anymore.
Well, I don't know. You've been ice fishing, so like, I mean, you gotta like this stuff. I mean, that's part of the game, right?
Oh, dude, I didn't even plan on going ice fishing.
I think that's the best part of it.
Close. Like I got up Saturday morning, and I actually went to my buddy's little kid, like his youngest son's basketball game for 9:00 in the morning. And I was on my way home from the basketball game, and I was like, I bet you my uncle's out ice fishing. So I just pulled in, and sure as shit, they were out there. It was probably 10:30 in the morning. I'm wearing like nice jeans, got my Jordans on, like I'm not prepared to ice fish. And I pulled up and was like, what's up? And started hanging out, and I didn't leave till 4:00 that afternoon.
I think it's just so funny because now it just like needle in the arm. See you later, dude. Back to it.
Yeah, dude. And like the thing is, like, ice fishing is like, it was probably my first big outdoor recreational hobby.
Your first outdoor love?
Very young age, right? Like way before I was like really deer hunting, anything, right? It was like trout, opening day of trout in the spring, but ice fishing was the shit when I was a kid. And like throughout the years, we have years with no ice now, and you go a couple years without even going, but like, man, when you can go, you got to go.
Yeah. No. I totally agree with you. It's it's the same addiction for me. Like you fall out of some of those things and then you back doing it again, and then it's like this. It's like a light switch. It was kind of, a couple of weeks ago. I mean, a couple of years ago, I stopped trapping because I was trapping full time, a ton, in the winter and stuff. And I kind of got out of it. And then our good buddy, Chris Brockett's like, bro, I kind of like doing this. Like, I was doing a nuisance beaver job. So then I'm trapping again for freaking running 1,000,001 traps. And then I kind of like fell out of it. And then my nephew's like, I want to go trap beavers. And then it starts this whole thing. I'm buying 5 dozen traps and I'm checking, those traps every single morning with him. So I get it. I totally get it. And that's the thing that scares me about ice fishing. We finally have ice, and what's going to happen? I'm going to go ice fishing, and then you're going to be right back into the rut.
Well, like one of the main reasons like I get out of some things is like I have a big passion for winter scouting and shit on. So it's like, you got to choose, man. Like, do you want to go do this on a Saturday morning or a Sunday, or do you want to be in the deer woods, get that postseason scouting? Because, dude, if you're only doing weekends, that postseason scouting, that's a fairly small window.
Right.
You got Saturdays and Sundays, like January, February, March, and then like you start getting into turkey season, and then by the time turkey season comes, it's green up, right?
Yeah.
So like,
super tough to scout.
So you got to get it. You got what do you got? 12 to 16 days to get it all done, and I even had so last Saturday. My plan was after the basketball game, I was gonna go deer scout, and I ended up on the ice, and I had some I don't know, anxiety. I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta get in the woods. I gotta go scout. And then I'm like, no, you don't. You don't get to ice fish every year. I didn't get on the ice last year.
Right.
So it's I have the opportunity to be on the ice. I can make up my deer scouting whenever.
Mm-hmm.
No, the ice could go. I don't think it's gone. The long term forecast is really good, but the ice could be gone next week,
It could
and
be.
you're gonna wish that you went. So I stuck it out all day and
It's
had a
still kind of early too, though. I mean, the antlers aren't even on the ground. I mean, if you're a shed hunter, I mean,
yeah. But I'm going back to what I was saying. How you only have so many weekends.
I know.
You know what I mean? You got 4 Saturdays and 4 Sundays a month for 3 months. That's it. So you lose a couple of them. It's you'll waste valuable time. But no, I spent all day on the ice. I didn't even have any gear in the water. I was just hanging out, right? Just hanging with the boys. And then again, unplanned, but somehow I just ended up back on the ice Sunday.
He turned and burned it.
About 4 o'clock that afternoon too. So yeah, spent my whole weekend on the ice. So
Yeah. Well,
it
wait
was awesome, man.
until I bring you night walleye fishing. You'll never leave the ice, bub.
I'll tell you what, I was reminiscing though, man. One of my favorite stories ever of ice fishing. I was probably 8 years old. It was me, my cousin who's 2 years older than me, and my grandpa. And my cousin dropped the sounder down the hole. We lost the sounder, right?
That's a bad luck hole.
I'm 8 years old. We don't have a sounder. What are we going to do? And my grandpa pulled out a little tiny Swiss Army knife, the little guy, little tiny one. And, it's got the little lanyard split ring on it. So my grandpa puts it on the hook. He's going to use this Swiss Army knife for a sounder. And I'm 8 years old. And I'm like, what are you doing? And you can't use your knife as a sounder. What if you lose it? And my grandpa's like, sure you can. What do you want to do? You want to go fishing or you want to go home? And I'm like, okay. And I thought it was the most badass thing that grandpa used the Swiss Army knife as a sounder and kept us on the ice the rest of the day. It was epic as an 8-year-old, I still bring up. Remember that time you used the Swiss Army knife for a sounder? I don't even think we caught shit that day, to be honest with you, but just one of those memories, man.
It's bad luck if you drop the sounder in the hole. That's no good. You gotta drill a new hole, don't you know? That's a bad hole. That's probably why, because he lost it down the hole. But no, those are good times, man. Those are those times we talk about all the time, being in the duck blind and going and hanging out with the boys. Sometimes you need that breakup, from that monotony of hunting alone, So
yeah, well, that's the thing. There's nothing more social than ice fishing.
Nothing. No. Unless guys like us that take it too damn serious, and then you know what I'm saying. It kind of. Some guys take it a little too far, though, and then it's.
Oh, dude, yeah. Have you been watching CT Ice Fishing Facebook page? Are you on there?
Oh yeah, of course.
That shit cracks me up, man.
Oh yeah.
What?
Oh yeah, the predator hunters, dude, there's a world of ice fishermen that are wild, dude, if pike fishermen, them in themselves are the worst there is when it comes to. And hey, listen, I cannot knock it because I was one of them, right? And he just but it's a cult. It's like carp fishermen. It's a cult. It's if you're not in, you're not in. It's just they suck. Those people suck.
You know what? You know what bothers me the most is in today's day and age, I saw in the Facebook groups, everyone's asking how much ice there is here, how much ice is there, and guys are lying to guys and telling them there's no ice and sending people on wild goose chases and shit. And dude, I'm old school, right? I grew up in the days before technology and shit, and one of my favorite things to do was to go scout ice Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
We'd get in the truck, we'd drive to whatever pond, you'd check the ice Friday night. All right, we're good to go. We're coming Saturday morning. It was part of it, right? And now it's just just jump on Facebook and ask everybody else where the ice is, and it's just those days are gone, I guess. But
I mean,
damn to take some advice on Facebook, somebody telling me where there's safe ice.
It's kind of crazy because January 1, deer season's over, and we would be driving around to find, safe ice. We'd be driving, the northwest corner to go find ice. I mean, are you really ice scouting if you don't fall in the lake? I mean, like, that's just normal. Like, we do. That's what it was. Like, same thing. Get in the truck, and you just go, and you're just trying to find safe ice, and it's.
Yeah. Have you ever really ice fished if you've never used a 2x4 plank to get onto the ice because there's open water next to the boat launch?
Dude, when we used to fish, we used to fish a lot of tidal water, pike fishing, and or late season because that's the spawn out, right? And like that's when you catch a lot of your big pike, and you're 2x6 in. We've used ladders. I mean, you're talking craziness, and you're like, you're on a floating ice cube. Like, what are you doing, you fucking idiot?
Hey, don't stand too close to me next to the hole because there's water coming up the hole.
Bro, I remember early season walleye fishing years ago, and it would be like 3.5 inches, and then there's like a black ice line, and it's like 2.5 inches, and we would put one flag just like right over it. And I remember three of us ran right to the thing, and everyone's like, "Whoa, back up!" Like you can just feel it. It's in the middle of the night, and the whole ice is just sinking, but. That was when you were, a rebel without a cause. Those days are just god awful over. I can't jeopardize that no more. Not like like not when I was younger. But it is nice to get back. So, well, we have not an ice fishing podcast, but a pretty cool podcast with a local boy who shot an absolute giant in the state of Connecticut. And you never think that you would podcast with somebody who shot a deer of that caliber in our state, I guess. I don't know.
Right up the road.
Right up the road. It's so true. Right up the road. So let's get through the old sponsors. You don't have any Killer's Corners or anything wild and crazy, right? Nothing
No.
touching off.
I will say this, though. This podcast did make me feel a little guilty about spending my weekend on the ice. Boy.
It's so true. It's so true. First off, we want to thank Bowtech. Refuse to follow. If you guys haven't gone out and checked the new Virtue from them, they actually released it last week in ATA. Super excited to go and check that bow out. So there is a ton of them. So get on down to your local bow shop. Check those guys out. Some really cool stuff from them here in the 2025 season. Those should start to come in. I'd imagine you can probably get them on order and have them in your hands soon. If not, you can always shoot them. Make sure to use the promo code Outdoor Drive, and you can get yourself a bow case. Huntworth, huntworthgear.com. Huntworth has gotten us through all of the cold seasons. Are you bringing yours out ice fishing, Steve-O? You're going to have to break out some of that late season stuff for the cold that we get.
Well, I'm going up north. I'm actually packing right now if I'm leaving tomorrow night to go to up New Hampshire. So I imagine it's going to be a little cold up there. So I'm definitely bringing some heat boost for
You might
that.
have to bring some Matterhorn for that one. So
that's what I am going to bring. I'm not going to get cold, that's for sure. I'm going to be comfortable. So
yeah, nope, you definitely can't do that. So go and check those guys out, huntworthgear.com. Latitude Outdoors. Use the promo code Outdoor Drive. Now's the time to kind of mess around with some really cool stuff. If you guys are looking for some backpacks, knee pads, just some
of
the
the new one. The backpack.
Oh yeah,
33.
33.
Yes.
It's what's needed.
Yeah.
So if you guys are scouting the Ranger 11, if you guys haven't gone and checked that out, that's a super cool, small, compact scouting backpack for this time of the year. And don't forget about the carbon sticks. And don't forget to use the promo code Outdoor Drive and save yourself some to get that stuff kind of getting rocking and rolling. Working Class Bowhunter podcast. If you guys have not checked them out, some super cool merch from those guys. You can use the promo code Outdoor Drive. They are the leaders of the podcast game. They have some really cool stuff, really cool hats, shirts, and then there's always the Kill Bottle Whiskey. You can't forget about that. Saddies, fatties. Guys, let me tell you something. Saddies, if the Saddies are flying, the turkeys are dying. Just got my order in from those guys. If you guys are looking for an Indian Creek choke, they also have those. But you can get on over to their website, tell them what you want, what you're looking for, what gun you're shooting. It's just a personal connection with Aaron, and he'll kind of dig you in and make you some custom loads. So go and check him out over there at Sadie's. Turkey season's right around the corner. It's really not that far away, to be honest, and it's going to be here in the blink of an eye, and then it's going to get late, and then what happens when it gets late? You're not going to be able to get the loads that you want. And then Fourth Arrow Camera Arms, fourtharrowcameraarms.com. Turkey season is right around the corner, so the tripod, there is a new carbon tripod for you guys that are crazy and need something light. But all the stuff that they offer if you guys are looking to self-film for the upcoming turkey season. So go and check out those sponsors. And then if you guys want, you guys can always get on to theoutdoordrive.com. Some good stuff over there. And follow us on all social media platforms. If you guys are listening to us on the audio side, you can always check out our YouTube. So we appreciate all of you guys. What are you thinking, Stevie?
Thinking I got to finish packing.
Yeah.
I'm not coming home tomorrow. I'm going to work in the morning, and I'm
heading north.
Heading to Eric's house right after work tomorrow night.
Nothing.
So,
well, I hope you guys catch some big Lakers.
Dude, I've been dreaming about it.
I could imagine. I can definitely imagine. Well, let's take it back to November, the sweet November, and Tom shooting an absolute giant. So we thank you guys, and we'll catch you guys next week.
The Outdoor Drive Podcast.
Dude, I'm live? What if I mess up? What if I say something stupid?
Yeah, that's normal. For me. Hold on, we're just waiting. We're live on Facebook.
I didn't even get dressed for this. Like, I'm still in my work clothes.
It's been a while.
I don't even have pants on.
You don't need pants. Pants are optional.
Yeah.
When you're zooming.
Pick up his rack.
That's the wrong rack, don't you know? Oh, it looks like we're live. It's been a while, man, since we've been live. So, well, welcome back to the Outdoor Drive Podcast. And we are on with Tom Vinal. He's actually a Connecticut boy here, man. What's up, Tom?
What's going on, guys?
How are you, buddy? Appreciate you jumping on with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know. I guess you kind of earned this one. This was one of those podcasts, and we'll get into the big story. But before we do that, man, let's kick this thing right in four-wheel drive. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do?
So I'm Tom Vinal. I'm from Northeast Connecticut. I grew up hunting and fishing. Like my dad was real into hunting. I was little. He did elk hunted out west a bunch, did a ton of whitetail hunts. He did a little pheasant hunting years ago. We never really got into that, but he was definitely into hunting a lot. And so naturally me and my brother are as well. And then, we freshwater fished a lot when I was younger, and then that evolved into saltwater fishing, and now I do quite a bit of saltwater fishing as well.
It's kind of funny. Tom, I think I met you, quite some time ago, actually.
8 or 9 years ago?
Yeah, something like that. You, your pops, your brother, all came out fishing on one of the charter boats I was on. And
that was on Chris's boat.
Yeah, I was on Chris's boat, yeah. And it's kind of...
Chris is a buddy of mine now.
Yeah. I know. I see you guys tuna fishing together all the time.
Yep.
And at that time, your dad had shot quite the buck.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, he did. That year, that was like 2016 or 15. He shot a giant in its own right, like a giant.
What? What? He had some type of special story with that thing, right? Like there was something.
So he shot that deer. It was Veterans Day of 2016, I believe. And same thing. He has 8 or 10 trail cameras out, and he only has usually 1 or 2 on a property because we hunt a few different places. And he had a couple nice deer on camera, and he bow hunted a lot. When I was younger, he rifle hunted a lot, and then he just decided that was just too easy. Now he hasn't shot a deer with his rifle in 15 years, or I don't know. He just doesn't do it. So he got into bow hunting, and then so he shot that deer. It was like Veterans Day of 16, I think, or 15. But so he had a camera out on this knoll, and the camera had been out for 3 months. And he had never seen this deer, never once. He had a couple cameras on that property, never seen the deer. And then, lo and behold, that buck came in at 7:15 in the morning, and he arrowed him at like 15 yards. And that I don't remember exactly what that scored. I want to say that deer was like mid 160s.
Wow. And especially for Connecticut, I mean, that's a giant Connecticut deer.
For Connecticut, man, that's that's it's not in the rack. The rack was impressive, but what was really impressive about that deer was just the mass of him. He was 242 pounds dressed.
Jeez,
dude, I've never seen anything like it before. I have a picture of that deer. We drove the tractor from the farm, the bucket tractor from the farm, and the body of the deer fit in the bucket of the tractor, and the head didn't fit. The head was hanging out of the bucket of the tractor.
I remember that picture, actually. Yeah.
Deer. So he shot that really, really. That's the best deer of his life for sure. Back then, and that's kind of how I met you, Trevor.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely. And so you were chasing the deer that you shot for quite some time. Like, do you know this deer? What's the history? Kind of bring us back. We had you on because you've shot this absolute monster of a Connecticut deer, and we kind of want to hear the story of it. So take us kind of through it and start from the beginning.
So it goes back 2 years. 2 years ago, I only have one picture of him on this property, and my brother saw him during rifle season 2 years ago. But he basically just saw his head and neck. And it was like, it would have been like, he would have had to shoot the deer in the head. And obviously he's not going to do that. So he shot this deer, and then we only had one picture of him from that whole year. So we kind of just wrote it off as he saw this giant freak deer back then, and kind of like forgot about him a little bit. Now, so go back to last year, we had a few more pictures of it, like probably, I don't know, 4, like the whole year. So we probably only had a couple cameras out at this property, but he was like a giant. He was a mainframe 8. He wasn't split on the left side, but it's absolutely the same deer. It's palmated. So we never physically saw him with our eyes. We had a few trail cam pictures of him, and that was it. There was probably 4 cameras on the property.
When you got the pictures, was it like spread out, like like one picture a month, or was it like were they all like kind of the same couple weeks, or?
It was weird. We got like this again last year. It was one late season picture, like late November, and then a couple in October and one in September, and that was it. So like really weird. Like there was no pattern, So we knew he was still around, and then so this year, like we all decided that we were gonna kind of like step it up, and we put a ton of cameras out.
Did you happen to find like sheds of him or any trace of him? Did you try like?
Never found a shed. He has a big range. We eventually figured out where he was bedding. Did I send you the picture of him bedded?
Yeah, today? You did. Yeah.
So but I've never found sheds. I've walked that property. I can't even tell you how many times. Never seen a shed. I could probably tell you where they are, like in the general area, but finding them, it's like such thick scrub in there. It's just you couldn't even. There's no way to get through there. It's just not possible. So anyway, so we had those few pictures of him last year, and then this year we decided we're gonna put up a bunch of cameras. So we had like between all of us that hunt that property, we had 8 or 10, or it was probably not that many, like probably 6 or 7 out at that one property.
How many acres? Ish.
It's It's a little show out of like 400.
Okay.
So, and then we started seeing him, like, not regularly, but like every couple weeks. And I got some really good, like, the edge cameras that we use, like the video quality is awesome. And I got some really good videos of him. And then we saw him this year. And we're just like, this thing is just a freak of a deer, like a freak of a deer. So, um, yeah. So then we like the season started, and you remember how dry it was. And like early in the bow season, I bow hunted a ton early in the year, and I would see a bunch of deer, a lot of does, a few little bucks. But then like it seemed like the deer weren't moving, or I don't know what it was. I talked to a bunch of people, and like it seemed like the whole month of October, when it was so dry, like people weren't seeing that many deer. Like all over the state, Massachusetts, like a lot of people I talked to were saying the same thing. So like we would get like glimpses of them at night and stuff, but nothing crazy. So in the early bow season, like I bow hunted a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got a freak like that running around, I'd be bow hunting a lot too.
That's kind of what I thought. Like I thought he was like, when I saw the videos, I'm like, this deer is in the 170s for sure. And I mean, there's only a handful of deer ever been shot in the state that are that size. So like, how many times in your life are you going to have the opportunity to hunt a deer like that realistically? Well, short of going like to the Midwest or whatever.
Right.
So I hunted a lot. Never actually saw him.
How much did you hunt? A lot.
So
did anybody else see him? Like, because obviously there's a couple of you guys that have been after him. Like in the season, has anybody put eyes on him at this point, or was it all just trail camera footage?
All trail camera images. After I shot him, a couple other guys that hunt adjacent properties sent me pictures of him from this year and last year, but they only had like one or two. So his home area was the farm that we were hunting for sure. He traveled during the rut. We didn't see him for 6 weeks during the rut. Not once, not on any camera, nothing. Which was really like disheartening because we were hunting a ton. And he, like you just assume the worst. You're like, somebody killed this deer, got hit, something. But like at the same time, like if a deer like that gets shot, like this is, you would hear about it.
You know about it.
So
when you flooded that property with more cameras this year, I imagine you put cameras in areas that never had cameras before. Were those the spots that you were getting him now on camera, or was he showing on places where you traditionally had cameras?
Yes. So I think only one of the new, maybe one or two of the new locations I had cameras on, I got pictures of them. All of the other ones were in the core areas that we always see activity and always see deer. Funny, that's a good, it's a funny thing, but it's like they have that home area and they get older and smarter and they stick to that core area,
Yeah, they say a lot of times they tighten up even more when they get older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, we'll get into it later, but the area that he was bedding was, I think this deer was literally living in like a 200-acre circle and not leaving this year.
So my question is, like, was there telltale signs of a giant like this living in an area like that? Like, like guys will say like, oh, I found big rubs, I found this, I found that. Was he leaving sign of any sort to really pinpoint, like, there is a monster in here? Even if he is, you know what I'm saying? Like, in 140, like, what's he leaving for sign to justify the fact that something like this is leaving here? And did you find anything like that?
So, that's another good question. So,
that was a really good question, Jeff.
No, actually,
thanks, Steve.
We found some rubs, but nothing that was like,
yeah,
you would send pictures of your buddies to.
Yeah.
And after we shot him, I brought the cape to my buddy. He came down to look at it, the guy that's doing the mount, and he's like, this cape, and he's been doing he's been doing taxidermy for like 30 years. He's like, this is the most perfect cape I've ever seen in my entire life. It was like untouched. He had, and it was late. I shot him like after the rut's over, obviously. So he didn't have a single scratch. There was not any puncture wounds. There was nothing on his neck. There was nothing on his nose. There was not a single mark on any antler. There was nothing. I think this deer honestly fought absolutely no other deer.
No. Nobody fought him.
That's, yeah.
I don't let that smoke.
It was uncanny, like how perfect. Like he had nothing, like no marks. Like, you shot deer in late season, and like after the rut, they are just beat up,
busted tines
just everywhere.
Yeah,
tick burn.
Their ears are destroyed. They are just hammered.
Yeah,
they're doing battle for 2 months, but he had none of that.
That's crazy. It's just mind blowing to me, like how many times these deer are literally underneath our noses and literally leave no sign at all or no inclination.
If we didn't have those cameras out, I would have never known that deer was there.
That's wild.
Never have known.
And what kind of areas were you focusing on to try and put cameras in that he would actively be on?
Timber funnels.
Really?
Yeah.
So, terrain-based funnels in the timber, or are they more like edges, like vegetation funnels? Yeah.
Edges. So what we thought he was doing early in this year, he was kind of doing, but he was doing it a different way. We figured out later. Where he was bedding, we were probably off by 500 yards or more. He was bedding in different areas, so we were trying to put cameras out to these edges, like natural funnels, between feet, between fields, between water sources in this heavy scrub where we thought he was living, and that's where we were trying to see him. And again, over the years with this property, we've hunted for 25 years. You kind of figure out where all those things are, after that long.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like I said, those other new areas that we put cameras up, I just was like throwing cameras up in different places because I just wanted to see him again, like throwing Hail Marys, just to see what was there. But
I think that's a smart move sometimes, honestly, because with what you're saying is you've hunted this property for 25 years, right? So we all as hunters and outdoorsmen get so caught up in what we know, right? We've seen a deer here, we've seen deer here, we've had good luck in this spot, we've had good luck in that spot. So once again, going back to the point of these deer are right underneath our noses, is that, like you said, you might be a couple hundred yards off from him, and he might be doing something, but you are so dead set on.
For almost 50 years, Midway USA has been America's go-to source for just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Go to midwayusa.com to see our latest deals and promotions and take advantage of our super fast same-day shipping. If you need a cooler, a new fishing rod, another rifle, ammo, or a reloading press, you can find it all at midwayusa.com. Thanks for your business.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. Midway USA offers the widest selection of reloading brass. Whether you are a casual reloader wanting cheaper ammo or a precision shooter needing the highest quality reloads, Midway USA has you covered. We offer bulk brass and popular cartridges like 223 Remington, 308 Winchester, 6.5 Creedmoor, 300 Blackout, 9mm Luger, 45 Long Colt, and more. For just about everything for reloading, visit midwayusa.com.
What's right in front of you, what you've seen those deer do, and you just like when you go to a place that you hunt a ton and you start to hike or scout or whatever, and you find yourself going to the same spot every single time and hanging a camera or whatever. So throwing those Hail Marys, who knows, that could have been it. You know what I'm saying? You might have been off a couple hundred yards, and it might be in an area that you've never been or stepped foot in.
The Trevor, the other thing, I think I learned just as much from those cameras that I put out that I didn't see him at, as the ones that I did, because it taught me, okay, he's not coming in here. If he was, I would see him. Don't waste time here. He's not doing this.
Right.
And those cameras you don't see him at, like you literally learn just as much, if not more, from that. Like, don't get discouraged because you don't see this target buck on camera. Like, it tells you where he isn't, which can be just as valuable.
I think, in that even going along with scouting, like new properties or whatever, finding those properties that check off to not go to, so that you're not focusing their time. And it's the same with those certain areas where you're not. But when you threw those Hail Marys, was there intel that was valuable to you as far as maybe other deer down the road, or how deer travel in a property?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, seeing one of the cameras that I put up, the Hail Mary camera that I put up, I just saw coyotes at, like, almost nothing else.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, well, these deer are not, like, that was it. So I'm like, these deer are pretty smart, especially this old deer. He's smart. Like, he's not going to be, having these same, movement patterns where all these coyotes are. So, you see young deer, like, in weird places, but, they just don't have a lot of experience. And, you can tell that they walk, I've had a few of them, like, walk right up to me. They just don't know, yet. So you learn that, okay, these deer, when they're young and they're not really, they don't have any of the intelligence yet, the intel, this is what they're doing. And when they're older, they smarten up and they're not going to these areas. So if you want to shoot this target deer, you might be seeing deer on this camera, but what deer are you seeing? You're seeing young deer that are not experienced versus, okay, this other camera I only have one or two bucks at, one or two pictures at, but that's where I'm seeing those deer.
So what do you think got him killed?
You really want to know?
Yeah.
Dumb luck.
Really?
Hold on. Before you answer that question, where were we at in the season? It was December, right?
No. It was, so I hunted a lot, September into October, and then I bow hunted a lot, and then
he disappeared, right?
Right. Yeah, he disappeared for a while. I still hunted a bunch. So this year also I picked up a couple other new properties to hunt that I have never hunted before. So I had cameras out of these other properties as well.
Thinking he was there or just hunting?
No. He wasn't. No, these are far away.
Okay. I
had nice deer at these other properties, but nothing even remotely close to what this thing was. So, I hunted, I don't know, 20 or 25 times earlier in the season before rifle started and never saw him. And I got discouraged, obviously. It's a lot of time in the woods. And then, so, like, realistically, I would go sit at one of these other properties just to, like, clear my head, look at something different.
Change it up, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I had a nice encounter with a nice 10-pointer at one of the other properties. Like, the first or second time I sat there with my bow, and I just couldn't. He was at like 70 yards, and I couldn't get him to come in anymore. But that was a nice 10-pointer. I had him on camera there, but it was just something to, like, I absolutely would have shot at that deer, absolutely. But it was something to clear my head, I didn't think I was ever going to kill this deer. I did not think that was ever going to happen.
Why is that? Why did you think that?
I think I was I don't know, trying to probably set myself up to not be disappointed, maybe. Like, I was doing it. I was doing everything I could at the time, and not just me. Like, my brother was hunting the same property a lot too. He hunts a lot as well. And I was doing everything that I could, but we didn't figure out what he was doing until after I shot him.
Was it like that reverse psychology in your head? Like, Like, no, I'm not going to shoot him. This is not going to happen.
No.
You know, like, because you have, like, some people that do, like, crazy things in the world, like, you know, like, say, like, Tony Hawk, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to land that trick. I'm going to break my neck, you know, like, just in his mind, so he actually achieves it. Like, it was that kind of thing, or?
It wasn't that. Like, I thought, like, for the most part, this deer had outsmarted me for however long, and I just didn't think that I would catch up with him. And like when the morning that I shot him, he did the one thing that I did not think he was gonna do. I did not think he would do it, and that's what he did.
But he did.
Yeah, what'd he do? Take us through it. Just take us through the meat and gravy, man. Everyone's here to hear it.
Hold on. Before this, so he had disappeared.
Yeah.
Had he reappeared prior to the morning you killed him? Like, did you get a picture of him and know that he was back yet?
Did I? Let's see. No.
Okay.
No, I did. No, I did have one. I had one picture of him in November. I did. So I didn't know he was back.
Yeah.
But I knew he was still alive.
Okay.
I suspected he was still alive. So then rifle season starts in Connecticut. So, you know, I've been a rifle hunter most of my life. I haven't really bow hunted a lot. I bow hunted a little bit earlier in life, and then I haven't bow hunted a lot. This year I bow hunted more than any other time in a year, but I hadn't really got into bow hunting until the last couple of years. But so the morning, it was like just after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving Day was a washout. It was like pouring rain. It was just gross out. So I didn't hunt Thanksgiving Day. And then the next morning when I was actually the day before Thanksgiving, my brother shot a nice 8-point buck, you know, like a 125, 130 8-point buck from the same stand that I sat in when I shot this deer. The same stand.
I wanted to ask you that too. How many sits was in the tree that you killed him from this year?
Me?
Just in general.
How many times? Like how many? Yeah.
I'm a climber guy. So this year I was. So we have a couple hang on stands, but I prefer to bring my climber because I like to change direction, change trees. I'll sit in the same like area 10 times, and I'll sit in 6 different trees and face 10 different directions. Like I like to change, like, you know, so depending on wind or whatever you saw them do last time, I like to be mobile. So this stand, the day before Thanksgiving, my brother had shot that 8-pointer. So we had talked about it after, and like, okay, we're gonna leave it alone for Thanksgiving, and then after, he's like, I'm gonna go sit. I told him I'm gonna go sit over in that area. He's like, go sit in that climber that they had set up. And I was like, all right, well, I was gonna do that. I was gonna bring my climber instead of sitting in his hang-on stand, and I actually ended up doing that anyways. But I got in the hang-on stand and brought my climber base because I love it because it's so comfortable to sit in. You know, I can't stand the hang-on stands; they're just not comfortable. But my climber, I can sit in for 8 hours and not move. You know, so that's what I did. I literally went and got in the same stand that he shot an 8-pointer in 2 days before.
Wow.
So it faced like the stand faced north, and then there, if you to the southeast, there's the southwest there's cornfields, and where he was bedding was basically southeast of where I was facing. So I'm facing this way. He's bedding back here, and there's feed over here, and there's big timber in front of it. Like, so there's that property we're on, and there's another big property that's all wooded. I don't know how many acres that other property is big too. So we had seen him come in straight like this, head to their bedding area, like that corridor we had seen there, and I had got him on camera there, like probably at least twice, maybe 3 times. But But one of the other spots I had a camera out, I had seen him a lot more. And I focused on that area where I had seen him a lot more during the bow season when I sat the whole time, all those times, and I never saw him. So I kind of got a little discouraged with that. And again, I just wanted to kind of change what I was doing. So I went and sat in the other north-facing stand in the timber. So my brother was not hunting that morning, and my dad was hunting at a different property, actually. So one of my other buddy, my buddy who's my cousin, was probably sitting 600 or 700 yards, maybe even more than that, 700-800 yards to the southeast of me. So he was way behind me, like closer to their bedding area. He knew that deer was there too, obviously. The deer came. He came in at 650, 645, and I heard him from behind me. And I'm in a climber base on a platform in a hang-on stand. It's like I won't ever do that again because it was like just not worth it. But I thought, I'm like, I'm gonna give this a try because I will sit here all day if I have to, you know. And then so I heard him come in, and I had some hemlocks behind me, so I'm shaded from behind me. Like he can't see me. My wind is going like this, so I knew my wind was going east. It was going east, so I knew he was going to win me because I did not expect him to come from behind me because that's where he was bedding. I thought he would come from in front of me this way. That's when he's headed to his bedding area. He came from his bedding area, which is at 6 o'clock in the morning. Is 6 whatever in the morning, 6:50 in the morning was unusual. So he came in behind me, and I heard him, and I turned to look, and I'm like, oh my god, it's him. I had never seen him before. I had never seen him with my own eyes, and it was a little surreal. Like I couldn't believe that it was happening. Like I just was like, I can't believe this. You know? I kind of browned out a little bit, if that makes sense. Like my adrenaline was just crazy.
Browned out.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I'll tell you I'll tell you. But like later on, I had trouble like recalling exactly what happened because my adrenaline was so nuts. So he came in behind me, and he was probably 50, 60 yards behind me on a trail, and I was like, I gotta put a bullet in this deer before he wins me, because he wins me, he's gone. I'm never gonna see him again. So he did. So I stood up, turned around, picked up my rifle, spun all the way around on the tree, and I'm leaning like this on the tree. And I remember looking through my scope, and I looked through the scope, and I could see the bottom half of like a smaller branch on the bottom of my scope. So, because I obviously never intended to shoot that direction. So I was like, okay. So I just like kind of hunched up a little bit to clear the sight of the scope, and I should have thought a little better about that. But I did. And then he was probably, I don't know, 60, 65 yards, and I squeezed one off. And I was convinced in my mind that I had smoked. Like, I was sure that he jumped and kicked. I was sure of it. And then he ran straight from my back, from my right, like straight in front of me like this. And he stopped at probably like 90 yards, quartered like this. So I obviously put another one in, and then I had like a clear line of sight, and I put another one in. I put the crosshairs on his back shoulder and squeezed that one off. And then I didn't see him react that time. I don't remember seeing him react that time.
I was gonna say.
What caliber are you shooting?
A 30-06.
Okay. Yep.
I have a Ruger M77 Hawkeye.
It's a nice
I
piece.
got a nice optic on it. I have a Lupo VX3. Like,
Yeah.
I have a nice optic.
It's a nice piece.
Yeah. I love that. I love that rifle. So like maybe 120 yards in front of my stand, there's a stone wall, and there's like thick brush in front of that. So I shot him again, and then he kind of like meandered over the stone wall, like over to the stone wall, and I was gonna try and put another one in, but in my mind, like I smoked this deer, like I was sure he took a step over that stone wall and he fell and he was dead. I was sure of it. So, so then he went like this, and he went across the stone wall, and I saw him go like this, like a little bit, and then I kind of lost him for like a few minutes, and then I'm like losing my mind right now. I took my phone out, I texted my brother, my dad, and I group chat, and I texted him. I said, "Bring the sled." And he's like, my brother, like he knew what I was, like what my target was, and he's like, "Who did you shoot?" And I said, "I shot him." And he's like,
Do you have a name?
"Yeah, we call them Towers."
Nice.
Yeah. So I told him, so he texted me, and he's like, "Towers?" question mark, and I said, "Yes." And he's like, "Oh, I will be there in an hour." So, so I sat there on my, like, just thinking my phone. I had a couple other buddies that knew about this deer that I had been texted, that I had taken my phone out and I was texting a few of them. And then I don't know, like 5 or 8 minutes later, I hear something snorting from right over that stone wall. And I was like, okay. And it went from like in front of me, from my right to my left. And I couldn't see the physical deer itself, but I could see antlers moving through the brush. And I was like, that's him. And then I'm like, now I feel not so good about my shot. I'm like, how is this deer on his feet still? He moved right to left. So he moved towards the west, and he went through that scrub. And he wheezed at me like 10 times at least. He knew I was there. I wasn't trying to be still or quiet at that point. I was shaking like insane amount. I couldn't stop shaking. And I watched his antlers move through the brush, and he kind of went out this way and then went that way. And I was like, now I'm freaking out. I'm like, I don't understand how this is possible. So I sat on my stand for like 45 minutes. I texted a few of my buddies, and I couldn't stop shaking. Like my hands were shaking so bad, just from the adrenaline or from whatever. That's like in my hunting career, that's something I've never experienced before in my life. And like, man, you should like just even any target buck, like that's something I encourage anybody, man. Once you do that, that's what hunting is all about, dude. There's no better feeling in the world than that. There just is not. So like an hour later, I told my brother, I'm like, let's give him some time. So an hour later, my brother met me at the bottom of the stand, and then we're like, okay, we're gonna track this deer. Oh, actually, I want to backtrack a little bit. So this stand is way, way back, like off the beaten path. It is a long walk in, extremely long walk in. And one of the things I did differently at this stand, I only sat in this stand like 1 or 2 other times this year in this area, maybe a couple more than that. But like, I took a long, long time to walk in, like over an hour. I went extremely slow, extremely quiet, like as slow and quiet as I possibly could. And I was in and set up like, I don't know, 5:45, 5:30, probably earlier than that, 5:30. I would say I was set up. So my brother gets there, and then I eventually get down, and we are like, okay, well, where was he when he shot? So I'm like, well, I think he was here. And we looked in that area where my first shot was. There's no blood, there's nothing, zero. So I'm like, all right, well, I saw him go this way, so we went to where I had my second shot, and we found pretty good blood there. So I think what happened was the first shot that I took, remember how I kind of hunched up to clear the branch? Optic cleared the branch, but that was right in front of me. This branch was in front of me, but I don't think my right leg did. And I think I hit the branch.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. It makes sense, right? Because your point of aim is above the branch, but your bullet's leaving the end of the barrel 2 inches below your point of aim.
And now that's so obvious to me, but at the time I was not thinking clearly at all.
You're browned out, bro.
You're browned out.
I was browned out.
That's a T-shirt. That's a T-shirt if you ask me. I browned out.
Feeling that.
I browned out. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we go to where I took the second shot and there's good blood there. I'm like, all right, cool.
Well, it's a good thing that you took the second shot. Like, if you didn't take the second shot, like...
Yeah, well, I grew up as a meat hunter, so, like, as a meat hunter, dude, you shoot until that deer is out of sight or laying on the ground. That's how
or the gun goes click.
The clicker. Yeah.
Until you don't have any other bullets in the magazine.
You shoot until you're browned out.
Yeah. Oh, I was browned out long before I was shooting. So
fucking love that.
He's putting the core locks to him all browned out, you know?
Yeah. So we find good blood. We trail it over the stone wall. We hop the stone wall and kind of went this direction. I'm like, well, I saw this deer go this way like 5 minutes later, but his blood trail does not go that way. His blood trail went off this way. So the deer that was snorting and wheezing at me, the buck was a different deer that came from the north. It was not the same deer.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of like that was kind of a like a mind like I was like okay that was anyways. So I because I was like I kept saying this deer went this way, like I saw him go that way, but it wasn't. It was a different deer that came from the north, like a nice buck too. Apparently, I think I know which one it is too, but a nice deer apparently, but not the same deer. So we trailed. So me and my brother were there. We trailed him. We got great blood. We trailed him for like I don't know 150 yards. Very quiet, very slow, and then we bumped another deer. Like we got close to it, like 40, 50 yards away, bumped another deer while we were tracking his blood. And then, like, once that happened, I was like, I don't feel good about this. Like, I was sure. I shoot a 165 grain bullet. Like, I was sure this deer was dead on the other side of the stone wall. Like, we were going to find him there. Like, it was going to be crazy.
And how much time has gone by since you started? It was about an hour?
I shot at 6:50-ish in the morning. And then, like, a little before 8, my brother got there. So we took probably half hour, 40 minutes. So it'd probably been an hour and a half, almost 2 hours.
Okay. Yep.
I'm like, I'm not taking any chances with this thing. We're gonna back out.
Yeah, you don't take chances with something like that.
Yeah. So we did. So that was hard to do. So we backed out. I went home for a little bit. They were like, we're gonna come back at like noon, 12:30. We're gonna look again. So backed out. Came back at like it was like 12:30, and then so it was me, my brother, my dad, and my uncle. My uncle hunts the same property with us too. So we're like, okay, he knew at that time. He knew what had happened, like which deer it was. So they all showed up to help me track this deer. So we started tracking him, and we tracked him and tracked him and tracked him a long ways. And we had great blood. I took some pictures of it. I could send them. I can show you. But we had great blood, like great blood. And I bet we tracked him for 300 more yards. Like a long ways.
Well, was there anything on the blood trail that like stood out to you? Like, did it look? Could you tell if he was like walking, if he was running? Did he stop? Was there several stops?
Yeah. So
did he bed down at all or anything like that?
Yeah. So he probably stopped. We could probably identify like 6 places where he stopped. And there was
stood there. Yeah, just stood there.
And then you could see where he's traveling through the brush, where he would jump through something, and you could see him bleeding out of both sides.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew it through and through.
But he never bedded. Just stopped and
Never
stood
laid
there.
down.
Yeah.
So then we were tracking him, and then the blood started to coagulate. Like you could see it on the ground, like it was coagulating. And I'm like, eventually it's all going to coagulate, and then he's not going to leave any blood, and then we have no blood trail, and we have no deer. So that's exactly what happened. So I tracked him for a while. He kind of went, so if I was facing north, he kind of went like this. So he kind of went like this, like did like a semicircle.
And kind of
And it's
backtracked.
I'm on the side, I'm a side hill. So he kind of went this way, and he's going kind of downhill the whole time. And there's like a water source way down there and behind me. So we tracked, and then eventually the blood stopped. There was no blood. So like I am at this point, dude, I am inconsolable. Like I cannot believe this has happened. I was in a rough spot. So my brother was like, hey, I know this guy, Tim Renicky. He has like a drone service. You know, he'll come out and look for your deer. So he had actually 2 weeks before at this other farm we hunt, my family farm. He had come out with his drone to find a deer that I had on camera. That's a really nice deer in its own right that I knew about.
Put that up there.
The neighbor had shot with his bow, and he hit him in the shoulder. And Tim came out with his camera, and he flew like over he was looking for that buck on different properties, so I knew about like who he was.
You know Brian? Brian and Donna said you were crying like a little girl.
Yeah, I know I was. Ryan's my brother.
Ryan's his brother, yeah.
So I was physically sick, like sick. So my brother's like, we'll get this drone guy to come out and look. So I'm like, all right, I mean, at this point, dude, I'm willing to do absolutely anything I can. Physically, steer, anything. So he gets the drone guy's number. He messages him. I call him. I tell him where we are. He's in. He was only like probably 30, 40 minutes away. Maybe an hour. So he gets there like an hour later, and I tell him the whole story. Tim was great. He was extremely knowledgeable. You can tell he had done it for a long time. He was a detective in Providence for like many years. He did like some drone work for the police department as well while he was a detective there. He's very good.
Wow, that's cool.
He shot. He went through the whole thing. He wanted to see pictures of the blood. He wanted to see if there was hair. He wanted to see. I could tell he knew what he was doing. You know?
That's super important too. Like to get the whole picture. Any tracking job, right? I mean,
yeah. So he knew what he was doing. Like I could tell he knew what he was doing. So we go to like our whatever where we parked our trucks, our home base. There's this little like car barn set up there. That's what we call it, the car barn. It's like an old like tin shed with old cars in it. It's like old whatever that the property owner has. So he goes and sets up, and he goes and flies the drone, and then he's flying the drone around. And he has like a legit television screen set up in the back of his like Nissan. It's so cool because you can see it live. It's one of the coolest things ever because you can see what he's seeing, and he has it set up to see heat, obviously, and then he can set it up to see actual images. So he flies the drone around. The drone batteries are like 15 minutes roughly of flying time. And he flies the drone, and I'm like, okay, he was on this side hill. He was going this way. We searched this whole side hill. We saw a couple things that were of interest, but I could like nothing that I could tell that he was like super interested in seeing, you know. And the drone is incredible. It's so sensitive. You can see heat reflecting from the sun off of the tree's branches. It's like incredible how sensitive it is. And I was telling him like, well, I shot this deer. It was like before 7 this morning. At this point, it was like 3:30 in the afternoon. And he goes, honestly, if you shot the deer last night, I would still be able to see it. And I was like, wow, okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So he flies the first drone battery. 15 minutes, we checked this whole side hill, we checked this whole thing. Didn't really see anything of value or interest. And then he brings the drone back. We puts a new battery in it. Like, all right, we want to check these other two areas. We're going to check over to like where I thought his bedding area was, which would have been to the south of where my stand was. So we go and check all the scrub, or all the timber, and then there's like scrub fields below that. So he checks all the timber. He's flying the thing for like 10 more minutes, doesn't see much. And then he gets into like the timber field, the scrub field, and then he goes, oh, that looks interesting. And then he was literally flying the drone like maybe 150 yards from where we were standing. He goes, oh, that looks interesting. Like I can't really see what it is, but like that's something worth marking. Maybe we'll look at that later. And my dad's like, that's right over there. We're standing there. Like, that's right over there. I'll just walk over there right now and see it. So he goes to walk over there. He, like not 3 or 4 minutes later, he goes over it, and Tim, like, and word for word, Tim just goes, "Oh my God, there he is." And I was like, I don't really know what I'm looking at, obviously that well, looking at it on the thermals. But then he changed the picture from the thermals to the actual live stream of the camera, and you can just see like the rack looks bigger than the body of the deer, and it's just the picture. I took a picture of what we were seeing on camera. It looks cartoonish. It looks absolutely cartoonish. That was probably, I don't know, 200, 250 yards from where we were standing, not even where we were standing in that scrub field. So he's, I was like, just at this point, I'm like, dude, I was emotional. It was a special feeling,
Did you just run right through the woods?
Did your
You're just
feet even
you're like,
touch the
see you
ground?
later. Like, I gotta go. You browned right out and you were on them.
My feet didn't touch the ground for probably 4 days after that. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. On the camp. So he saw Tim's freaking out. I'm freaking out. Tim's like, "Oh my God, there he is!" And then, so I know in the field like where the camera was, but it's hard to tell perspective like which end of the field because the camera like does this or whatever. So we call my dad back over. We're gonna drive over there and then walk up this little hill to where he is. So we get in the truck, drive over there real quick. It's like 200 yards away. It's not far. And then he starts at one side of the field and I start at the other. And I start to walk up the side of the field. The scrub is like 3.5 feet tall. So it's like thick, but like you can kind of see over it, but you can't see down into it. And I walked into it and I could just see the antlers sticking out like that. And I was just like, I don't have words for like how it felt to put my hands on him. Like I fell to the ground and I was like on my knees and I couldn't believe I was holding him. It was just,
wow.
It was incredible. Like if you could bottle that feeling up and sell it, you would be the richest person in the history of the world. It was just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I was, I was freaking out. My dad comes running over. We literally, so he's in the scrub. He was like maybe 5 yards off the little path in the scrub field. And we dragged him out into like the path in the side hill. And I'm just like sitting there like this, holding him. I'm just like, oh my God, he's bigger than I even thought he was. Like, and I remember sitting on the ground next to him, just like trying to like breathe, trying to breathe, like trying to not hyperventilate. And so when we had seen the picture on the trail cam, I took a picture of it on my phone on the trail cam, on the drone. I took a picture of it on my phone and sent it to a few of my buddies, like 3 or 4 of my buddies. So now my phone is just blowing up. Like it's spreading like crazy couple of one of my buddies FaceTimed right when I found him, and I'm just like hyperventilating, like it was crazy. So I finally calmed down a little bit, like enough to like take some nice pictures with the deer. So my dad takes some nice pictures with the deer. We dragged him 5 yards, back the truck up right to the field. So the homeowner's house is not 150 yards away from where this deer was found. Not even. He's probably 125 yards away. He was right under their noses the whole time.
Wow.
And Trevor, that picture that I sent you of him bedded down in the scrub 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
Other side of that scrub field, that's probably 75 yards from where we found him.
Wow.
So after you shot him, he just did a big loop. He was trying to get back to his bed.
Yeah.
He was trying to get back to bed. Yeah. And I was too stupid or stubborn or whatever you want to call it to think clearly and say, he's going to try and go back to his bed where he's comfortable. There's water source. He knows he's safe there. Like sometimes the simple answer is the correct answer, you know? So
where'd you end up hitting him? Just a little far back?
I hit him back. Yeah.
So
I held on that back shoulder, and I think I just hit him back.
He was slightly quartering away, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I hit him back. And that shot was probably
One shot though.
Yeah.
One
hole,
I'm
one
sure
in,
the
one
first
out.
shot. I'm sure the first shot hit that branch and missed.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Can you hold them up and show everybody, because they keep going crazy. They want to.
Skinner wants to see him.
Yeah.
You want to see the back?
Yeah. Show them. It's mind blowing. Just absolutely mind blowing.
The mass.
Dude, it's crazy. For you guys that aren't on live and are listening to the audio version on any of the platforms, you can go onto our live on YouTube and just check it out around the 54-minute mark. And Tom's going to show it off. But just give them some measurements real quick before we go back into the...
So for a reference, I'm like 6'2", 270. So I'm like on the bigger side.
What was the main beams?
His main beams were like this one over here was 30 and a half inches.
Jesus Christ.
And the G2s?
This tine was 16 and a half. His outside spread is just under 27.
And what's the base mass measurement? Just for reference.
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Maybe, 6 and change probably.
That's wild.
He's been scored a few times. Obviously, Green scored. He's over 190 inches. Green, and that's net. Obviously, that's not typical.
Oh, gross.
Yeah,
gross.
Yeah, gross. Gross.
That's for fishing, anyways.
Yeah. Gaffs are for fishing.
That's right. So it was right underneath. Oh, your brother's saying 7 inches at the base.
Yeah.
7 inches at the base.
So this deer was right.
We're gonna have Brian on next week to tell his side of the story. Fact check.
We're gonna fact check Tom. We're gonna do the controversial brother fact check.
I was gonna have him come tonight because he's gonna sit here and just talk trash behind me.
So this deer was literally under the right underneath their noses then.
So I didn't know this. So that picture, Trevor, that I sent you of him bedded down in that scrub field with just his racks against the scrub. The homeowner sent me that picture after I had shot him that day.
Wow.
I thought he was bedded. I didn't know he was bedded right below their house. If you go south of there, there's a side hill with a bunch of scrub and a stream and a whole bunch of stuff. And historically, over the years at this property, that's where all those deer are bedded. Is there? We knew that, so that's what we knew they bedded. They've always done that. This year, this deer did not do that. He was bedding right below their house. Wow. He took that picture on his tractor with he's got like a big tractor with like a brush mower on it. Driving by on his tractor, he took that picture of just the antlers sticking up like that, and he sent it to me that day after I told him what happened, that I shot this deer. He's like, "Oh, I saw that deer a couple weeks ago," and I was like, "Okay." He said it, and I was like, "I can't believe it." He was right there. He didn't leave home. He was right there. He was right below their house. He must have known he was safe there.
That's what happens. Them big deer, they just know they're safe in just the weirdest places, and they just won't go from them.
So the homeowner has a German Shepherd as well, and he walks that German Shepherd every single day. You know that path? Where we found him 5 yards off the scrub trail? Down that path, he walks that German Shepherd every single day, and that deer was bedded in that scrub field right there. Probably the whole year, and I didn't know.
So I know this has nothing to do with nothing, but does he walk the dog on a leash every single time?
No, but it's so that he said that the dog. He actually sent me a video of the dog barking at something in the scrub field. One day, but the dog is a German Shepherd, and it's impeccably trained. Like, he puts the work in with this dog. It is impeccably trained, like police level dog training. It's beautiful dog. But he does the work, and he's a forestry guy. Like, he loves the forest. He loves the forest management. He loves all that stuff. He's not a hunter himself, but he understands the need for it, and so he walks his dog through there. And I'm sure the dog knew the deer was there, and honestly, the deer definitely knew that they were there. He just didn't care. He knew it was safe.
He knew it was safe and never had a problem in there. He just knew
he probably walked 50 or 75 yards from this deer. I bet 20 times.
It's so crazy to hear it though, Tom, because honestly, like, how many times it's either near or far, right? So either they're super close to the parking lot or super far from the parking lot. Like, and
historically, do you guys hunt down that far south ever?
Because it's close to the house. We don't hunt.
And you rifle hunt, right? Yeah, and you're not going to go close to the.
I bow hunt that property a ton too. We don't bow hunt close to the house either. Like where I parked my truck that morning was 50 yards from where I found him. I'm not kidding. 50 yards from where I found him, and probably maybe 100 yards from where that picture was taken when he was bedded.
So when was that picture taken of him bedded in the area?
2 weeks before.
Wow.
So.
And he told me that's not the first time he'd seen him. He'd seen him there before.
And there's more timber. There's more hardwood south of that scrub brush.
There's timber and hardwood north and then west of that scrub.
So what's south of that scrub? So like what's going through my head, like I painting the picture in my head, I'm thinking go ahead.
There is timber and scrub south of that, but you got to go like through his driveway and really past his house, and all that. And you can go south. You go south farther, you get to a water source. There's a river down there and a little pond.
So, go ahead, Steve. Because
I'm painting the picture in my head, and I could be way off. I'm just going by what you're saying. Like I'm thinking, historically you've got north winds, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
So like you got that scrub brush. So like that south side would be your downwind side of that bedding, and then also like leeward side, so you can bed on that hill, facing south. Wind at his back, all the hunting pressure is to the north, and
to the north and to the west.
Yeah,
that's wild.
So he's a smart deer. So
he had it all down there.
He was smart, and
he must have had good food to build antlers like that too. Though.
Have you scouted that at all?
No.
I bet you that south side of that scrub brush is tore up.
Yeah. Well, so obviously. Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to change my tactics a little bit in future years. But
Brian's already in there. I heard.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Brian's got 3 stands in there, 15 cameras. He says Tom's got to take 5 years off. I think is what he said.
I'll tell you what. If you aren't learning when you're hunting, man, you shouldn't be hunting. You learn every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that it could have been torn up, but like we didn't like. It's just scrub field, and there's like very thin patches of timber and like little paths, and he would like the homeowner would like mow these little scrub fields like, or my dad would for him like once in the spring, and then he would mow the path between that he could walk his dog. But that's like a bigger area.
Where do you think his antlers are?
I either in that scrub or in. I think this is the first year he bedded in that area.
In that area.
I think the previous sheds from previous years are where historically he was bedded, which is much farther to the southwest.
That's wild. That's so cool though, dude. What a buck, man. What a story. Especially being hunted for so long on a property. It's mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing.
It's crazy because 6 of us were hunting that property, and every square inch around that property, and not every square inch, but a lot of it is hunted. It's like, it's rural. It's farmland. We have 10 acres of corn up there, so he obviously was eating well of sweet corn. He didn't have to travel. He didn't have to go anywhere for anything. He had his bedding area. He had all the corn, all the corn and acorns he wanted were there. He had a water source there. I think this deer was living in like a 250 acre square, and he just never left.
He doesn't have to.
You left now, right?
Yeah.
Back to your house.
Yeah.
Now he's living in a lot smaller area.
Yeah. He's in the combine of 4 walls.
Yeah, 10 cubic foot freezer.
Yeah.
Sometimes the easy, simple answer is the correct one. I think a lot of people overthink hunting, and I'm definitely guilty of that. I think I've overthought a lot of things when it comes to hunting, and I think that again, I'm certainly guilty of that myself, but I think that's to our own detriment sometimes. Like you got to think, what do these deer need? They need food, water, and they need some sort of safety, realistically. And if you can put those 3 things together and you hunt that tight area, like you're gonna find some deer.
Well, think of this too. I mean, it's not only that, but like, so you guys were hunting to the north, and that deer knew, you're trying to hunt him, but in all reality, that deer is actually hunting you and trying to survive. Like, how many?
Yeah, I mean, he's right there every time you pull up to that carport, just watching you walk by.
Well, not even that. He's probably traveling on the downwind side of you, and you're not even knowing it. So that deer is wind checking you to see if somebody is in the deer stand. Like, that deer knows.
So this is funny. So when my brother came in to help me track that morning, he parked his truck right next to where I park. And he got out of his truck and he started walking, and he was walking. There's like a little, and where he was on the downhill side, and there's like it's like a grass path, but it's like, it's probably, it gets mowed like once a month kind of thing, maybe once every 2 months. And then there's like a thin strip of woods, and that scrub field is right there. And he said he got out of his car, he started walking to where I was this way, and he heard something snort at him up the hill, and it had to be this deer. Had to be.
Wow.
Did you ever figure out how, when he made that loop, because you lost blood way up to the north, like he was starting to loop around, do you know how he got all the way back down to the south past you?
He just looped. I think he just looped all the way around. He started to make this loop, and he got to like here, and he just made the loop, and he came straight back like that.
That's nuts.
Again, I had the whole thing tracked out on my Onyx. I could see it, like, oh, he's doing this, but I wasn't thinking clearly. Like, I should have just been like, oh, well, this deer is making this loop. He's going to continue to do that. Why don't you just follow that path? But again, hindsight's 20/20. Like,
no, of course.
It's tough with no blood too, right?
Yeah.
Like, because he could turn it any time he wants. You made the right call.
I think it was definitely the right call. That's so cool, man. I congratulations on, just what's a once in a lifetime buck. I mean, dude, like, what at this point is like your goals? Like, what are you gonna do now, bro? Like, are you just gonna go back to meat hunting, like whatever happens, happens, kind of thing? Like,
I don't know. I don't know. We had another nice deer that's like maybe a 150s this year on a different farm.
You gonna let Brian get browned out, or you gonna go and get him yourself, dude? Like,
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Poor Brian.
Poor Brian. Yeah. He shoots the little buck. You know what? You can't all be this lucky.
He's your older brother, right?
Yeah, he's 3 years old.
Oh, I'd be so pissed at my little brother.
This is another funny thing. So I had my taxidermy guy come in, who's like a very good family friend and a extremely good taxidermy guy. He's won every award they make. He came obviously down. I sent him a picture of it. And he's just like, "Oh my god, what is that?" He came down to look at it, and we're looking at his teeth. His molars, there's nothing left. His teeth were gone.
How old do you think that he was?
So his son is a wildlife biologist. Actually, they aged him at 7.5.
Wow. Was he on the deduction? So in the past like 2 years, like you have pictures of him from 2 years ago. Is he? Because he was a 9-pointer originally,
he gained
right?
that split 3.
He was an 8 last year. He's a 9 this year.
Because he split.
Well, he's a mainframe 8, though, right?
Yeah, mainframe 8. Yeah, just because that's time split.
Yeah.
So he that's split right here.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So he so when we aged him at 7.5. So when I gutted him, his stomach was full of acorns, but like none of them were crushed. None of them. Like he just swallowed them all. It wasn't even full of acorns. And then when we caped him, he did not have a single ounce of fat on his entire body. There is nothing for fat, zero whatsoever. I think he was having trouble eating because his teeth were so worn down, and that's why he had. Again, it's the end of the rut, but this deer, like to me, wasn't rutting super hard because he wasn't fighting. But he had no fat on him. I think he was struggling to eat. And I think if we had a tough winter this winter, he would have had a really hard time because he had no fat. His teeth were worn nothing, and I don't know that he would have made it. He certainly would have regressed next year. Certainly.
I was just, the old wild tales about how like my dad always says it too, right? When you see like a big clump of deer shit, it's like, oh, that's buck shit, and you're like, no, it's not. Like all deer shit like that, right? And it's like, but like old timers will always tell you like a clump of shit.
It's a big buck.
Because they have no teeth, they're just shitting out like whole acorns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's you got to be an old deer to do that, but there's got to be something to it, right?
Yeah.
Towers the old Hoover. Towers is an old Hoover. He just sucks them things right up and spits them out.
Yeah. He was old, that's for sure.
Oh.
So Field and Stream did an article. I talked to one of the guys from Field and Stream.
Yeah, I saw
he did an article, and he conveniently left out most of the story and got basically every single thing wrong in the article. I'm not kidding. Every single thing in the Field and Stream article is wrong. Every single thing.
That's mainstream, bro.
It's mainstream. That's like some CNN shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so cool, though.
It's super cool. I mean, I guess that's like
cool.
It's one of those things your whole life you like you read the Field and Stream and North American bucks and big bucks and Buckmasters and all that stuff, and you made the pinnacle being from Connecticut, the one and only to ever be in any of those magazines, right? No, so.
Yeah, so actually, like a friend of a friend knew a couple guys in Michigan. My brother's like friend of a friend knew a couple guys in Michigan that shot like bigger deer in Michigan, like big deer. And apparently the stories from when they shot that deer that got published in Field and Stream weren't exactly accurate either. So my guess is they just kind of cherry pick whatever they think sounds good on paper and put it in there. And obviously, if you don't know me, you don't know the story, you don't know what happened. Like,
right.
There's no way to know. So the other cool thing is the Northeast Big Buck Club is like a big thing in this area, obviously.
Yeah.
I talked to I don't know if he's the president or whatever, but they're going to put one of the pictures is going to be the cover of the spring issue, which is cool.
It's awesome.
That's awesome. Are you going to bring them up to the Springfield show to get measured?
For sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it won't be green then. You can get him officially
Yeah,
scored.
he'll be officially scored.
Yeah.
That's so cool. You have to if you're around the area, you have to come down to the old Mohegan Sun. Is the Mohegan Sun Show after Stevie?
Yeah, March.
March. To come by and bring him by the booth and hang out with us.
I'll bring him by the booth. Sure, dude.
Come and hang out and
I think we need to have the Field and Stream editors on the podcast and be like, "Yo, what up?"
Tom and Brian say you suck.
Holy shit!
If you want to get browned out, come on the outdoor drive. We'll take care of you.
Sounds like those editors are browned out with the article. Did they
It's a
make it
heck
sound cooler though?
of a feeling.
Did they make that article sound cooler than it really was?
No, no, definitely not. Like, I think all the background, like the chase part of the hunt, is like obviously more interesting to most people. Like they want to know. Like I hunted this deer like I don't know 30 times.
Right.
Anyway, like I never saw him. Like that part's not
That's boring.
exciting to a lot of people. But like to like a true dyed-in-the-wool whitetail guy, like, and you're putting that much work in, like it makes it a lot sweeter when you actually do succeed on a deer like that. You know, dude. The day after I shot him, it took me about 4 days to come down from that high. I'm not kidding. Like I felt like I was floating around for 4 days. It was just.
Tom, I would have told him that I would have came up with like some crazy story like that. I sharpened a stick for like 3.5 hours and I saw him and then I crawled my way through the shrub bush and like.
Did you suffer from? I know you're on like a super high for like 4 days, but did you ever get that? Dude, it's hard to describe. It's almost like a depression. It's like a lost feeling when like a deer like you obsessed over a deer for 3 years. Like every morning you wake up and like that's the only deer you want to see, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you look at your phone and you're like, what am I looking for? He's not there. Like he's dead. Like
So this year especially, every single morning when I woke up, the first thing I did was open my camera and look at my pictures for months. And then, so afterwards I was kind of like, I soul searched a little bit. I was like, all right, like what now? Like it's over.
Yeah.
I'm never going to see another.
I lost my purpose in life. Like
I'm never going to see another deer like that again. That will never happen. Like I felt like a little bit of letdown from that. Like I was kind of sad that it was over.
Yeah.
I would just sell all my trail cameras at this point. Like it's over. You're never.
But it's a weird feeling though, right? Like you don't know, you can't describe it until you've
done it,
experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
He certainly got like the better
That's the word I was thinking, but I didn't want to say it because I figured some moms out there would get mad at me because I don't know what it's really like. But postpartum, it's like postpartum disorder.
Yeah. He certainly got the best of like a group of us, like 6 of us at least for like years. You know? Yeah. So, and again, the how it happened, like you asked me to describe it a certain way, like it was pure luck. He did what he should not have done for me to shoot him that morning.
What do you think he was doing?
He came in, but I have no idea. I still have no idea. He came in from his bedding area, and I came in that direction, basically a little farther away, but like I came in from his bedding area, like generally. Think about where I parked my truck. Like I was not far from where he was bedding during the day. So he came in that way. I don't know why. I don't know how. Like the wind was terrible for the direction he came. If he came from the north, like they generally do, or from the west, I would have been totally fine. That 8-pointer my brother shot a couple days before, he came from the north. Like that's what they usually do. And we had seen him on camera there at that stand a few times, and he hadn't come from that direction. He came from the north or he came from the west. So he did something different. Like I don't know. Like I don't know. Maybe someone pushed him out, like a coyote. I have no idea. Something weird. Something weird. Because there's nobody else in there. I was way out in the woods. It's a long walk from where I parked my truck to back there. Long ways.
I've seen I have a theory, like a personal theory that I've seen a lot of bucks do throughout the years, where they're like, especially more, I know this is a little later, but like the more like a ruddy thing where their direction of travel is actually opposite of what they should be doing. And my theory is like if they're looking for does, like does are going, say, feed to bed, the buck will go backwards to instead of playing the chase game, they kind of try to head them off. And then like they'll head from like bedding to bedding to bedding to bedding, but in the opposite direction. So they're like, instead of following.
That makes sense.
Or you see them go like north to south when the trails go east to west, so they're intersecting multiple trails. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Should ask him what he's doing.
It was late rut though. It was end of November. Like,
yeah.
Can you ask him? Can you ask him real quick? Like, what's up?
Yeah.
What was the date? It must have been what, 28, 29, 30, somewhere in there?
Yeah, something like that.
You don't remember the date? He's still browned out? Like
it was the day after Thanksgiving.
Wow.
28, I think.
28, yeah. That's wild. Well, Tom, I got one last question for you, buddy. We want to know what drives you outdoors.
Mental illness? I don't know.
Nothing anymore. You could say that.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, because it's not every. You're a full. We call it a seasoned outdoorsman, where you do a little bit of everything. You know, it's not. You know, it's not just one thing. So that.
Right.
Yeah.
I fish a lot too.
Mm.
Like I have a center console boat. We fish out of Mystic quite a bit. Go after stripers and tunas and all that stuff. So we do a lot of that, and that's to me honestly that's more fun than hunting. But like the payoff with hunting is, you know, we've caught 700-pound tuna this year, and the payoff for hunting is just tenfold what it is for fishing. I don't know, for me at least.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I don't know why it is that way. I think probably because I've hunted like that for a lot longer than I have fished, because the fishing is like a newer thing to me. I've only really saltwater fished really the last like 8 or 10 years, and the last like 4 or 5 a lot. But like I think maybe just the build up, because you do it for so long after one deer, and I don't know. It's
the postpartum brownout. That's what
it is.
That's what Andy said. That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. We truly appreciate you jumping on with us, Tom. It was an absolute great story. And I hope that you find something else and you give your brother a really, a standing chance to get browned out himself.
You can tell him yourself.
Yeah, he's listening. He knows. So, Tom, we really appreciate it. Thank you for jumping on,
thanks
man.
for having me, guys. This was a blast. I love telling this story. It's still surreal to me at this point. I hope, that my story will maybe challenge somebody else to go, hunt their target, whatever, dream buck next year or something like that. Like, that's what this is about. We're all in this together. I know everybody gets mad for hunting next to everybody, but like, everybody loves the same thing. Like, we do it for mostly the same reasons. And I hope that somebody will hear my story and not get discouraged. And after 20 sits and not seeing one, the deer that you're after, like, you can get discouraged. Like, I understand. Maybe my story will help somebody, down the road.
That's really what it's all about, honestly.
Yeah.
Thanks again for joining us, man. We hope we want to see that thing in person. So hopefully Springfield or somewhere else, we actually get to see him in person.
I'll bring him to the show. I'll bring him to the show in Springfield.
He's something special. Definitely something special. Well, Tom and everybody else, we really appreciate you guys jumping on with us. Until next week, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.
Thanks, guys.